So I've gone and jotted down some notes about the monitor student behavior and academic progress, being consistent in the use of procedures, rules, and consequences, managing inappropriate behavior promptly, and maintain a positive climate by reinforcing appropriate behavior. I've done some research on my own and found some things online that I thought were pretty interesting and just some thoughts from my experience in general. So to start off with number one, we'll go with monitor student behavior and academic progress carefully. So one strategy to monitor student behavior would be proximity. It's how physically close a teacher gets to a more problematic student or a group of students. So it lets the student know that you are aware of their behavior and that you're on to them, so to speak, so that they'll look at that as okay, she's kind of, or he or she might be getting annoyed by me. I should probably stop and calm down. And probably one of the more widely used would be the voice itself, your tone of voice. Some teachers have mastered using a calm voice to wrangle students under control, and others prefer raising their voice and yelling. And I think personally that it depends on the teacher. Myself, I do like to yell, but I'm also pretty good at giving that look and that stare. It's one of the things that I inherited from my father. He was very good at managing our behaviors at home by just looking at you or using a different tone of voice. So I think it just depends on the teacher and the situation that you're in, whether you need to be more aggressive and yelling, or whether or not you need to use a calm tone of voice. That way you can get your idea across. And to monitor academic progress, there were a lot of different ways to do this. I know it's as easy as using a test. If a student does good or bad on a test, then that shows you where they're at academically. I personally think that there has been too much emphasis on the test, so there has to be other ways of doing it that we're just not to a point in academia where we're just saying you need to study for this test, and whether or not you pass tells me if you understand it or not, because that's not a very good indication of whether or not you understand the material that is being presented to you. That just says that you studied what you need to study to pass the test. It's literally all about the test, and it's not about the learning. So I don't think that is something that's good in today's world. Maybe back in the day, but today I don't think that's a very good strategy. Some observe and they interact. So an example would be like, as far as interaction would be, you would bring a student in to talk about a paper they wrote, and you talk to them, and you can kind of get a sense of whether they feel as if they did a good job, how they felt about it, and just basically you observe their reactions to what you are telling them. So I think that's a pretty good strategy itself. So going to number two, be consistent in the use of procedures, rules, and consequences. Making sure to have little exceptions and making consequences befitting of the infraction itself. So if you have a student who is talking during class, you're not going to expel them. That's a little extreme. You might give them a little tick on their on the attendance or something like that to say like, oh yeah, this kid he talked that day or something like that. I also think that that's more of an elementary, middle school kind of thing. It's kind of a lower level tick thing. You want to make sure the rules are clearly stated and that they're understood more than anything. So, and this ties in with my other one too, is be a firm and establish authority. So the first couple of weeks of class is critical. You hear that all the time. You have to establish yourself as the authority figure in the class. That's the very first thing you have to do. You can't come out trying to be a friend off the bat, because they're just going to walk all over you and they're going to treat you like a friend, when in reality I'm your teacher and you need to listen to me and do as I say, and there will be time for fun and games later. And this kind of goes into managing inappropriate behavior promptly. You want to be proactive and you want to nip things in the bud. So like I said, you just want to establish yourself as the authority figure in class off the bat. So that way they understand that these things aren't going to fly and I just need to be on my best behavior and he's going to be cool with me, and that's really all it is. If you just do what I tell you to do, follow the rules, we're going to be cool with you, and that's the biggest thing. And then encouraging students to report inappropriate behavior. I know some people think of it as snitching, but it really isn't. If somebody's doing something that's inappropriate and that you can't necessarily see, you would want your students to come to you and tell you, hey, Billy was in the bathroom doing this, or Timmy was doing this, or Sarah was doing this. Like that way they're coming to you and telling you what's going on when you can't see it. You enlist the help of the students in that matter. You don't want to give them too much power, obviously, because they'll go overboard with it. But the general gist of it is you want to get your students to help. And then finally, number 4, maintain a positive climate by reinforcing appropriate behavior. So one thing that I think is interesting is instead of punishing a chatty classroom, why don't you give them some time to be more chatty? Not everything should be about punishment. You should look at that as, okay, they're telling me that they're not telling you, they're telling you by their actions that they would like to have more time to themselves to talk. So myself personally, I like to make sure they know that if we can get through everything that we need to get through, then you can have that time by yourself to do that and that. Now, if I feel like they're being chatty in class, I'll personally tell them like, hey, I'm gonna need you guys to pipe down a little bit. We're trying to get through this. If we get through this at the end, you guys will have some time to talk freely. I mean, also you got to understand that like it might be the night after a big game, a football game, basketball game, or something like that. And they want to talk about it. I mean, heck, I'd want to talk about it myself. So you just need to make sure that they know that we need to get our work done first before we can get to that point where we can play. And they need to know that that's important that you get to play, but you need to get the work done as well. So those are some of the strategies I came up with. Thank you.